Ann Coulter is. Good morning, Ann. She's on the line with us right now. Good morning, Ann Coulter.
Good morning.
How the hell are you, Ann?
Fantastic.
Listen,
how are you? Every day is Christmas in Trump's America.
It is indeed. You're right about that. We're still. I'm still actually euphoric and almost in a state of disbelief. Happily, I might add. But you've had some. Sid was just alluding to some hit him out of the park columns. First, it was Ann Coulter, the great hijab cover-up, and then just yesterday he came out with a column, Ann Coulter, tips for hate crime hoaxers, and this wave of hate crime hoaxes that the initial crime gets reported, but the fact that it's a hoax never does.
Yes. I have a whole book on the fake victimology and how victims have become the bullies in America. It's my book Mugged, and in there I describe it like, when the truth finally comes out. I don't know if you guys remember this from New York, the crime allegedly, these black little kids had their faces painted white with shoe polish, and they were told, you'll be white today. This is when Dinkins was mayor. There's a huge hoo-ha. Dinkins visits the kids. Suddenly there are allegedly copycat attacks. The whole thing turned out to be a fake, but when I'd go back through the Nexus account to see, since the New York Times ran this on its front page for 2 weeks running, and the mayor visited the kid, and there was this huge dedication of police resources, it'll probably be a big story when it turns out to have been a fake.
Yeah, right.
No. It's always like you're reading a bedtime story to a child. You're slowly whispering the ending and tiptoeing out of the room. Yeah, you might be able to find some tiny little blurb on page A18 of your newspaper that, disregard that thing we've been having a hair on fire hysteria over. And I must say I'm kind of surprised that since the election, as I start out with, we're a big country. You'd think everything happens once, as you guys just said. Muslim porno actress who performs naked except the hijab. You would think everything happens at some point. And none of these hate crimes by Trump supporters, against Trump supporters, yes, by Trump supporters, none of them have turned out to be true.
None.
But we still get the hair on fire stories. I mean, I think it ought to be acknowledged by someone at some point.
No, there's no question.
How lucky we are that probably the least violent, most pacific beings ever to walk the earth are white American men in the 21st century.
Right, as opposed to other people who throw things, rocks. You made the point in the column that the white men never throw rocks.
No.
It's always somebody else, or the other group.
And we see a lot of it. I mean, the Palestinians, the Mexicans throwing them at the Trump supporters and the police. You have the refugees in Europe throwing rocks at the police, and that was one of my tips for hate crime hoaxers. Don't accuse a group of white men of throwing rocks at you.
No, we don't do that.
You're thinking of what you do.
We don't do
That's right.
But the other point you made, which I thought was pretty eye-opening, and not in the last column, and the column before that was talking about hoaxes and talking about people reporting stuff that never, ever is confirmed to be true. You specifically talked about Muslims and Muslim girls, for that matter, that you say make a ton of accusations, and none of them come to fruition. None, right? None are real.
Yes. It's so many of these alleged hijab grabbings after the election. And the interesting thing about this is, we always get yelled at for wanting to assimilate people immigrants to our country. Well, you came here. If you came here for a reason, of course you want to assimilate people. This has been a long history of assimilating people from all kinds of different cultures. But not only is it a hate crime to try to assimilate people, we don't get much assimilation, especially in the huge numbers we're bringing immigrants in at now until, I hope, Trump. Just huge numbers from very different cultures. So, you end up with, for example, I've seen it in Detroit. I went to law school up in Ann Arbor. There are whole neighborhoods where the signs are written in Arabic. No, we have all that. We have immigrants not assimilating to the good parts of our culture, but the one part of our culture, they assimilate to, like fish to water, is claiming victimology and coming up with hate crimes and saying, the great white male is oppressing them.
But like you said, if it was so bad and they had all these issues and so many hate crimes and life was so miserable, why aren't any of them going back?
Yes,
that's a great point.
I will not believe any of these hate crimes until the first Muslim goes home. It's not like there are dozens of Muslim countries around the world. It's not like you're sticking around because of, oh, well, this is the home my great-grandfather built. I just can't bear to leave it. You just got here. If it's so horrible, go home or go to a different Muslim country.
As you said, there's emigration as well as immigration. So well put. Anyway, the columns, you can see them at Breitbart.com. Very, very entertaining, enlightening, and informative, and funny. And Coulter, also, you had, speaking of hate crimes, the other way around. They exist. You had the motorist in Chicago, the Trump supporter, savagely stomped and pummeled by a group of black kids, and it was on videotape. Never heard about any of them getting arrested or the trial or any of that crap. And then, of course, the Chicago torture video, which was, for example, on the Sunday morning shows. Nobody brought him up except on Fox News.
Oh, and it's even worse than that at the New York Times. They're doing, since Trump was elected, they've started a new feature, The Week in Hate. Their description of the Chicago crime, you have no idea who's doing what to whom, but somebody was yelling about white people and Trump.
I saw that, right, yes.
It sounds like
misleading.
It's, clanners who have kidnapped some poor innocent Trump opponent, cut him, tortured him, and they're yelling, white power and go Trump, the way the New York Times wrote it. It's Orwellian. It is unbelievable.
It really is. It's perverted, is what it is. And then, of course, the biggest hoax, fake news of the week is the CNN report and the BuzzFeed. I think we lost Ann.
I think we did too.
Ann just left us.
I think we just lost a line.
You want to do a quick set and come back?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, let's do that, Mike. Back here on the Bernie and Sid Show on 77 WABC. We were unceremoniously cut off from our guest, Ann Coulter, who's back with us right now. Ann, you with us?
Yes, I am. I don't know what happened.
I blame Crash Inside.
I blame the Russians.
The Russians.
See, that's what I did when the Giants lost to the Packers on Sunday. I blame the Russians.
Speaking of which, the Russians, look, this CNN stuff and BuzzFeed and all that stuff, my contention is this, Ann Coulter, is that what CNN did was actually worse than what BuzzFeed did. They came on, first of all, they emboldened BuzzFeed, but they came on and they made these allegations, or they reported these things in a way so cryptically, and to lead you to believe that there was some truth to it when they know that it was total garbage. But to say that we have these reports, but they're unconfirmed. And, again, and BuzzFeed, by putting it out there, showed us how ridiculous the charges were. Actually, did Trump a favor inadvertently, but what CNN did was, it was so sleazy. What do you think?
That's a really good point. I was traveling, so I was getting it all from CNN, and you're absolutely right. I mean, once I got to a computer and could figure out what was going on. But I will say, I think Trump got him back yesterday. That was the most magnificent press conference I've ever seen.
No doubt.
Absolutely. You guys should be playing. I was thinking these poor people who have jobs and couldn't watch it live. You ought to play a lot of clips from that press conference, because I was watching thinking, especially from like 30 minutes in, there's great stuff.
We played a lot of it, yeah.
The conflicts of interest, but when he goes after, and I love him talking about the wall and how it's going to be paid for, but when he goes after the dossier and CNN, and it really, it is outrageous, and I loved when he said, and I think both of you will too, when he said, look, it's one thing when you put out lies like this about me, including the fact that they're claiming his lawyer, Michael Cohen, met with Russian agents in Prague. It turns out it was a different Michael Cohen, and Trump's Michael Cohen has never been in Prague.
Yeah.
This is really outrageous. You can see why some of us, myself and Trump included, are highly suspicious of our crack intelligence community. They're the ones who told us about the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. How many times do they have to come up with this crap for us to say, maybe you guys should find a new line of work. We need some new spies working for us. But when Trump went after CNN, and after CNN directly and aggressively, I thought I've been waiting my whole life for a president to treat the media the way they treat us.
Yes.
And Trump said, it's one thing when you come after me. I can hold these press conferences. I got this mic. I've seen other people destroyed by lies from the media. And, of course, that's true.
And yes, and to just one more on my point, instead of saying that this has been shopped around and other news organizations wouldn't touch it, we're reporting it tonight. Instead of saying that the allegations were not even remotely substantiated, they were like, well, we have unconfirmed allegations, lending credence to those very allegations the way they reported it.
Yes, they did, and they're crazy. It's insane that anyone would look at this and not laugh at it. I'm amazed that, what prompted this, apparently, news organizations have had this nonsense for months now, but what prompted it was the intelligence community attached a summary and their findings on this absurd Mickey Mouse report and sent it around to members of Congress. So that is the intelligence community, and this isn't a new thing that I've come up with just lately. Our intelligence services are the worst in the world. They have been since after Watergate, when the Democrats somehow they blamed Watergate on the CIA and vowed, as Democrat Ron Dellum said, quote was, I vow to dismantle every intelligence agency in this country, piece by piece, brick by brick. And that's what they did. That's what the Church Commission hearings did. They don't like Americans spying on other countries, and so now the CIA, the intelligence community, it's all lawyers. It's not spies. For example, because of a law Congress passed, and this is a big one, you're not allowed to work with anyone in another country who is thought to be breaking that country's laws. Well, that means there's no spying.
Right.
Because if they're giving you intelligence, they're breaking that country's laws, which is why you end up with these overpaid, fantastic parking spots, and everyone treats them like they're something out of a Hollywood movie. No, they're just drones who have reserved parking spots and read the Peshawar Tatler and report back. Or we get nonsense like this. This report really does show you how appalling our intelligence agencies are. Walmart has better intelligence than the United States of America.
And certainly better corduroy pants. I want to ask you about the Russians, though, Ann, because, again, I'm not the biggest Trump guy. We know that already. So I'm a little confused, okay? I know that it wouldn't be a horrible thing to have a better relationship with Russia. I don't buy the ISIS thing. I think there are other motivations. But either way, it wouldn't be a horrible thing. But on one hand, Trump talks about how he loves the fact that Putin talks nicely about it, but I'm going to be tough. Then you get Rex Tillerson, who's made $1 billion in his lifetime and received friendship awards from Putin. And now he's going to be tough, and he thinks that, frankly, there should be dialogue about Russia. Then you get Paul Manafort, who at one point had to leave the Trump camp. Why is that? Well, because of his relationship with Russia. So what is really going on here? Is Trump and his new cabinet worried about Russia, going to deal with Russia? Or, in fact, is that just talk? And at the end of the day, they're all in bed together.
Well, Manafort's been out for a while, and I was glad about that, not because of anything having to do with Russia, nor anything really personally having to do with Paul Manafort. I just think political consultants they are to politics what U.S. intelligence agents are to intelligence. I just think they're terrible at what they do. And Manafort may have been, the best of the lot, but still, it's a category of people. I was glad to see any professional political consultants gone. So he's gone. And, I have a whole chapter on this Russian saber rattling in my short and funny book, In Trump We Trust, E Pluribus Awesome, written before the election. I'm not one of these Johnny-come-latelys waiting for him to win to rush this book out. I will explain the entire Trump phenomenon in that book, including, and maybe especially, to the never-Trumper types. But one of the things I noticed during the debates, I'm talking about my own party now, the Republican Party. They have no new ideas other than be like Reagan. Reagan was president more than 3 decades ago. The world has changed. We have new problems now. And part of that is, their solution to everything is tax cuts. And don't get me wrong, I like tax cuts. I'd rather have people have it than the government have it. But there are bigger problems now, as Trump has addressed, with trade, with dumping cheap foreign workers on the country, with outsourcing work. That's kind of bigger than this Republican obsession as if it's a cure-all for everything of, and we're going to cut corporate taxes, we're going to cut corporate taxes. No, okay, that's a great idea. It shouldn't be the top of the list now. And on foreign policy, the way, and I've noticed this a few election cycles now, what did Reagan do? He was tough on Russia. Well, okay, morons, but he won. Remember, the Cold War is over. There's no Soviet Union anymore. And it just was baffling to me. I would live tweet the debates, making fun of these guys for all of them they're going to prove that they're like Reagan by talking tough with Russia. Look, I don't want to live in Russia. I don't want to live in Japan. I also don't want to live in Mexico, and I may be doing that soon. Well, at least until Trump became president. There are a lot of places I don't want to live. I want to live here, but still, you want to have good relations. And one thing Putin has been dealing with, I mean, you remember this stuff that was, I've been more interested in the domestic pages of the newspapers than the foreign pages. But remember when the Muslim separatists took over that theater in Russia?
Oh,
this
sure.
must have been a decade ago.
Horrendous.
And just started shooting people right and left. They've been dealing with the Muslim jihad problem quite a bit longer than we have.
We have common interests. They're a Christian nation, and they have a major radical Islamic terror problem, just as we do, and we can work with them and should. And on the way out, Ann, because we are out of time right now, but we'll see you next week. The word is that you were at the Golden Globes at a table with Lena Dunham while that privileged, angry, ignorant, uppity Meryl Streep gave that speech. And just a thought on that before you exit
they would have been so lucky to have me there. I like having these people talk about bullying. Again, this is my book, Mugs, Liberal Victims and Their Attack on America. They use their victimhood it is just intoxicating to be a bully. And that's how it's exercised. The biggest bullies in the world, always making fun of Americans. And Meryl Streep talking about how, the role of an actor is to get into another person's life and understand that person. Really, can't you do that with middle-class Americans? Can't you do that with Americans worried about their neighborhoods, about the epidemic of heroin sweeping through, coming from our southern border? Can't you do that about God-fearing Americans? No, you're Nazis. I can't understand that at all, but I'm a brilliant actress.
Well, did you see her? Was she downing glasses of wine? She really sounded unstable. And Trump's going to deport Canadians and Israelis and Polish and what the hell was she talking about? She's out of her mind. She's a nut.
The world has gone mad. I do think that I don't want to discourage this behavior. I do not think Hollywood airheads popping off like this with these insane claims, like the Russian dossier about Trump. I don't think they win one vote, and I think honest lefties are probably embarrassed by it.
Yeah, she is a certified nutbag. But listen, Ann Coulter, thank you for appearing here.
Excellent job as always.
Good to talk to you, and I'll see you in studio next week.
All right. We can't wait. Have a good weekend. In the meantime, and that was Ann Coulter on the Bernie and Sid Show. We're going to come back 1-800-848-9222 after Nome with the news.